Well, thank you, General Tonini, for that introduction. And I want to thank you all for being here on this great occasion. It's been a wonderful day already. Sergeant Major Armstrong, I've really enjoyed the stories you've told about the development of this into a world-class facility. And also I want to thank Mr. Peters and Mr. Holman for coming in, and T.C. Freeman, thank you for joining us here for this great occasion. This is one of the best parts of my job, not only getting out of the Pentagon for the day and getting to see the wonderful things going on in the Army, but also recognizing excellence. And so Steve Nance, Gary Willis, Doug Barber, and Ricky French, congratulations, and thank you for what you do for the Army every day. I do hope to see you in D.C. As Secretary Wolf mentioned, this year's winners represent the best of the Army's ongoing commitment to sustain its training lands through sound environmental stewardship. Other award winners are from Army installations in Arizona, Georgia, Maryland, Michigan, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, Texas, and Italy. So you join a very elite, very small group. The Natural Resources Conservation Award for a large Army installation has a lot to do with the efforts you've made in your burn program, your prescribed fire program. And I heard today a lot about partnering. The partnering with the Fish and Wildlife Services, the partnering with other agencies, partnering with the private sector, and all of that coming together in one way or another to ensure that we are appropriately stewarding the lands that we manage for the federal government. Right now in the Army, we have over 13 million acres of land over which we have stewardship. And that's a big responsibility. It's a responsibility not only to this nation, but it's a responsibility to ensure that we have lands to train on. And so that stewardship is important. The other thing that is important about it is actually saving the installation tens of thousands of dollars a year in contracting costs, in herbicide costs, in pest management costs. And not only is it good for the environment, but it's good for the bottom line. Today I learned about many other best practices that you're implementing, such as native grass restoration or pallet recycling, which I thought that was interesting, to turn it into fish habitat, and working to reestablish cypress, the native vegetation. Over the years, the American population has not been the best stewards of the environment. And there are many invasive species that have been brought in to the detriment of the environment. So by restoring it to native habitat, we can actually decrease the workload that we have because nature knows how to take care of itself. I also understand that you're engaging with universities in the local area to ensure that we're helping to educate future generations. And that is another responsibility that I believe the U.S. Army takes seriously, is that we have a responsibility, whether it's through the Challenge program to help the youth, or whether it's through our colleges supporting the education in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. And that's a marvelous job overall that you're doing here. Training, equipping, and supporting the Army's operations requires lands, resources, and people. And by implementing sustainable practices and principles, we can decrease future mission constraints, increase flexibility and resilience, safeguard human health, improve quality of life, and enhance the natural environment. All of those are exemplary. But to continue meeting the demands placed on our forces with declining resources, we must continue to do more with less, and we must consider resources in everything we do. Today we had a lot of talk about not only the environment, but about energy. And as I look around on buildings and look around in this cantonment area, I see solar power just about everywhere I look. And that's another way to make good use of resources we have at our disposal and put less strain on those resources that are in limited supply. So I congratulate you on those initiatives and on your pending initiatives to increase power production here so that you can continue to service this community and this state in case of natural disaster. One of the things that I want to talk about is the challenges that the Army is facing in regards to our fiscal constraints. And I don't want to dampen the spirit of today's activities, but I would be negligent if I didn't mention that the budget cuts are going to affect all of us. If sequestration becomes a reality, combined with the budget cuts that we have already faced with the Budget Control Act of 2011 and the continuing resolution, many of our environmental programs and initiatives will be in serious jeopardy. Estimates are that cuts to sequestration in Kentucky will be over $606 million to the Army budget alone, and an estimated 15,000 jobs could be affected. And this is serious. This affects Guard, Reserve, affects our permanent installation, and affects our ability to serve this nation in a way that we all feel is responsible. During testimony to the Senate Armed Services Committee last week, General Frank Grass, who's the chief of the National Guard Bureau and serves on the Joint Chiefs of Staff, stated that about 115,000 traditional Guard members would not get annual medical or dental exams. Within 1 year, readiness would be degraded to pre-war levels. That the Army would cancel or reduce depot-level equipment maintenance, including the reset of material returning from deployments. That the Air National Guard would be forced to park aircraft, degrading readiness. And that training cuts to the Army and the Air Force would affect both the Army National Guard and the Air National Guard. And such reductions also impact our acquisition and our military industrial base investments. Civilians will be furloughed, private sector jobs lost from reduced military investments, jobs lost from decreased military construction, and base operating and support contractor jobs will be impacted. The Budget Control Act of 2011 reduced the Army end strength by over 106,600 soldiers and civilians nationwide. Sequestration doubles those end strength reductions to over 200,000 total. Every installation, every state, every community will be impacted. And so partnerships, like we talked about today, between our installations and the communities that support them will become increasingly critical in the future as we become more dependent upon the private sector and the communities that surround our military bases. So with that, I want to thank you for the initiatives you've already taken in partnering with the private sector and the communities. Those relationships, TC, that you are helping to foster will become increasingly important as we will be unable to fund some activities that our soldiers need. And so I want to, again, thank you, give you my congratulations, and God bless all of you for the support you provide to our service members, to this Army, and to this nation. And with that, please join me up here for presentation of the award.